Madam President, dear Roberta Metsola, honourable members of the European Parliament, thank you for this invitation. It is a great honour to speak on behalf of Moldova's people in this House of Democracy. Today I would like to focus on the growing threats to our democracies and how we defend them together, because no one can be defended alone. I will do so through the story of Moldova, because our stability is your stability and our peace is Europe's peace. On 28th of September 2025, Moldova will hold the most consequential election in its history. Its outcome will decide whether we consolidate as a stable democracy on the path to EU membership, a safe neighbour to Ukraine and a security provider to the Union, or whether Russia destabilises us, pulls us away from Europe and turns us into a threat on the Ukraine's southwestern border and Europe's eastern frontier. Ladies and gentlemen, before I begin, let us recall one truth. Most of your democracies were not complete when you joined this union. You fought dictatorships, overcame economic hardships, and not one of you did it alone. Every democracy in this chamber was built, supported, and protected with the help of others. Germany and France, devastated by war, chose reconciliation. With Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, they laid Europe's foundation, fragile at first, but together strong. When Ireland joined, solidarity transformed it. Denmark showed that even established democracies chose the Union to secure their future. Then came Southern Europe, Greece, Spain, Portugal. Less than a decade after dictatorship, their democracies were sheltered and consolidated inside the Union. Austria, Finland and Sweden followed. Neutral countries, they reinforced their own security and Europe's. Then came the great enlargement of Central and Eastern Europe. Czechia, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, Slovenia, barely 15 years after communism, they grew stronger and more prosperous inside the EU. Cyprus and Malta also entered, proof that no democracy is too small to matter. Romania and Bulgaria followed. Romania and Bulgaria followed less than 2 decades after shaking off their socialist past. Still with much to build at the time, accession gave them stability and the space to grow. Croatia, scarred by war, found peace and security in this family. And today, Moldova, Ukraine and the Western Balkans stand at the gates, living proof that the European project is thriving, still expanding, still protecting. Both Moldova and Ukraine are ready to advance to the next stage of negotiations in a merit-based process that reflects our progress. And both our democracies will be safer once we are inside the Union. That is why I say this Union was never about perfection. It was about protection of fragile democracies until they grew strong. And it should remain so today. Because democracy does not come automatically. It comes after hardship, after sacrifice, and above all, with support from friends. That is Moldova's lesson, and it is also Moldova's warning. If our democracy cannot be protected, then no democracy in Europe is safe. Honourable members, last month we celebrated 34 years of independence. In the past 3 decades, Moldova built and preserved a living democracy. Fragile, yes, but enduring. We survived a Russian-backed separatist conflict, an economic collapse, energy blackmail, trade embargoes, even a banking fraud that shook the very foundations of our state. Each crisis could have broken us, but democracy resisted. When democracy was in danger, people protested. When oligarchs tried to capture the state, we resisted. And when power changed, it changed peacefully at the ballot box. Unlike in some other places across the former Soviet Union, Moldova did not become an autocracy. We preserved pluralism, we protected free elections, we remained faithful to who we are, Europeans. For the past 2 decades, the European Union, together with the United States, has been our steadfast partner, helping us reform, modernize, and build institutions strong enough to resist pressure, giving Moldovans hope that our place was and is in Europe. Then came 24th of February 2022. When Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, we knew we could not wait. We needed safety. And we understood that the sooner we are inside the European Union, a peace project that has never seen war between its members, the safer our democracy and our people will be. That is why we applied for accession just days after Russian tanks rolled into our neighbourhood. We have obtained candidate status and opened accession talks. We are not asking for shortcuts. We are doing our homework diligently. But for us, accession is not just a technocratic process. It is a race against time to anchor our democracy inside the Union, where it will be protected from the greatest threat we face, Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, Moldova cannot escape its geography. We feel the long arm of Russian aggression. We share a 1,200-kilometer border with Ukraine, longer than any of your countries. And the reason Moldova still enjoys peace today is because Ukraine stands. Ukrainians are fighting to defend their country and their freedom, and they also shield Moldova. We owe our peace to them. But their sacrifice is also a reminder: peace is never guaranteed. That is why our European path is not just a matter of values, it is a matter of survival. And precisely because we have advanced greatly on this path, Russia has unleashed its full arsenal of hybrid attacks against us. The battlefield is our elections. Last year, during the presidential poll and the referendum to anchor EU accession into our constitution, interference was unprecedented. But democracy prevailed. Moldovans stood their ground, and through their authentic vote, they defeated Kremlin's political fronts. Our institutions stood with them, alert, determined, resilient. Now, the next battle is upon us, the parliamentary elections at the end of this month. Ladies and gentlemen, we have resisted many pressures from Moscow in the past. Our independence was hard-won through economic and political hardships and the Russia-backed conflict on our soil. And whenever we exercised our free choice for real, Moscow struck back, cutting gas, banning our wine and fruit, stirring the Transnistrian region. But today we face an unlimited hybrid war on a scale unseen before the full invasion of Ukraine. The Kremlin's goal is clear: to capture Moldova through the ballot box, to use it against Ukraine, and to turn us into a launchpad for hybrid attacks in the European Union. That is why this election is very important. By defending it, we protect not only Moldova, but also regional security and stability. Ladies and gentlemen, interference does not begin and end on election day. It starts months before and lingers long after. Like a virus, it finds the cracks and attacks. We had barely recovered from Russia's interference last year when, in January, we were plunged into a manufactured energy crisis designed to raise prices, leave the Transnistrian region in cold and darkness, and divide citizens on both banks of the Dnistru River. Then came the money. Illicit financing poured in through crypto, shell companies, prepaid cards. Last year, in a single day, over 1 million euros in cash was intercepted at Chisinau airport. And our institutions estimated that over the course of the year, Russia spent the equivalent of 1% of Moldova's GDP to influence last year's elections. Today, new money bankrolls Kremlin's-backed parties, buys influence, poisons democracy. Last year, it went further into something our democracy had never faced before, a vote-buying scheme. A sanctioned Russian bank opened 138,000 accounts to sway results with direct payments. It is not something we are proud of, but it shows how Russia identifies vulnerabilities and exploits them. This is democracy itself turned into a target. Russian proxies also fund protests orchestrated on Telegram, with transport arranged and people lured by promises of thousands of euros. Lies spread, fake emails in the names of state institutions, deep fakes of politicians, fabricated international sites posing as impartial news but serving Kremlin's propaganda. And on social media, a Romanian think tank found that just 100 coordinated accounts pushed videos with 13 million views in a single month. Their comments, thousands of copy-paste lines, reveal manipulation, not genuine debate. Cyber attacks hit government services. Last year, the Postal Service was struck because it delivers pensions where banks cannot. Phishing campaigns target officials. Religion is weaponized. Criminal groups are recruited for sabotage and intimidation. A judge ruling recently on political corruption received death threats. Our diaspora is targeted with online campaigns to divide families abroad and at home. Last year, 14 polling stations across EU countries received false bomb threats to disrupt the vote. In Gagauzia, false claims spread that autonomy is under threat. In the Transnistrian region, calls for more polling stations are nothing more than a tactic to fabricate turnout well beyond real voters' levels. And this is happening now. It is coordinated so as to overwhelm our institutions and stretch limited resources. It is financed with hundreds of millions of euros, dirty money, and amplified by propaganda. It is made more dangerous by three features. It constantly changes. New money channels, new tricks, new narratives of disinformation. It is digital, payments on Telegram, lies on TikTok, deepfakes on Facebook and Instagram. More than 80% of toxic content on TikTok is AI generated. And it exploits democracy itself. Freedom of religion turned into propaganda. Freedom of assembly into paid protests. Freedom of association into instant Kremlin-backed parties, and free capital flows into illicit money into politics. This is not only Moldova's story. Crypto schemes tested in Chișinău now help evade EU sanctions and fund Russia's war machine. Vote-buying schemes tried in Moldova have surfaced elsewhere. False bomb threats, first seen in our elections, have already disrupted elections in other countries. Moldova may be the testing ground, but Europe is the target. Honourable members, this brings me to the heart of today's challenge, defending our democracies with teeth and together. The threats we face are faster, sharper, less visible. If the threats are new, our responses must be new. Too often we face 21st century dangers with tools designed for peacetime. Yet war has returned to Europe, and we, Europe, must rethink how we defend our democracies. The Cold War offers lessons. Fragile democracies were shielded by economic resilience. The Marshall Plan rebuilt shattered economies. They were defended in an ideological fight. Radio Free Europe exposed dictatorships, poverty and repression. And they survived because citizens knew freedom was not given, it was safeguarded. That is the spirit we need today. And Moldova knows this not from theory, but from experience. On the front line of democracy, we have learned what works and what fails. These are our lessons. First, cut off illicit financing and protect elections. Dirty money is the lifeblood of foreign malign influence. Unless we cut it, every other defense is undermined. Especially elections must be shielded from it. Election observation must go beyond polling stations, follow the money, track information manipulation across platforms, expose covert influence. Second, build resilience. Resilience means energy security, interconnected infrastructure, and market integration so that no democracy can be blackmailed. But resilience also means democracy that delivers jobs, justice, opportunities. Third, engage citizens and win the ideological fight. Even when democracy delivers, we must involve people directly, with clear information, free media, open debate, while exposing autocracies for what they are: war, corruption and destruction. Fourth, strengthen deterrence and coordination. Aggression must be made too costly, with stronger defences, intelligence and cyber capabilities, but also with stronger coordination. Hybrid threats exploit weak links. Europe must join forces and act faster. And fifth, integrate and innovate. Candidate countries must be part of the defence of democracy. No one is safe until everyone is safe. And just as the Marshall Plan and Radio Free Europe were created then, today we need new tools: rapid digital forensics, AI labelling, joint cyber defence, new ways to organise citizens. That is how Europe has endured, by adapting, rebuilding, turning fragility into strength, by protecting fragile democracies until they grow strong. The only way forward is to defend our democracies with teeth and also defend them together. Honourable members, Moldova is not alone in protecting its democracy. The European Union has stood with us financially, technically and politically, and we are deeply grateful. This solidarity strengthens our ability to protect democracy at home, while also allowing us to contribute to Europe's common security. At the same time, Moldova has gained hard experience in countering hybrid threats, and we are ready to share it, because Moldova already thinks like a member, acts like a member, and that too is part of Europe's security. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now, from this House of European Democracy, to turn to my own people on the eve of a decisive choice. Dragi cetățeni, să fim
Dear citizens, let us be proud that we've managed to build a living democracy, and we managed to keep it alive for 3 decades, even when some tried to destroy it. We've experienced many trials, which we managed to overcome, and each and every time we came out stronger. Today, however, our peace and independence are once again under threat. Interference with our elections, illegal financing from abroad, disinformation campaigns, cybernetic attacks, paid protests, tactics meant to sow hatred among people. This is how they try to divert Moldova from its European path. It is up to us whether this pressure will manage to stop us or, on the contrary, will make us more united and more determined. Last year, we showed the whole world that at the ballot box we can stand firm against much greater forces. Now we must take the decisive step, elect a parliament that would take Moldova into the European Union. This is our responsibility. The future of Moldova depends on the courage and the unity we'll show at the ballot box.
Thank you for giving me the chance to speak to you today and for standing with Moldova on our European path. Thank you. Thank you.